Hey, thanks, Megan. So welcome everybody to CSOL's continuing webinar series. As Megan mentioned, I'm Todd Houston, and we'll be presenting today's topic of how to approach an upgrade for SampleManager. First, a bit about myself. I, like many other LIMS folks, started in the lab or product development, not in the LIMS environment. I was fortunate enough, this goes back to the early 90s, so this is when LIMS systems were starting to come into their being, and working in an R&D lab environment transitioned kind of into the IT part. The organization I was with at that time, I was fortunate enough to be there long enough, I guess, to go from a LIMS system that was under someone's desk in the lab that was first used for our R&D facility. It transitioned from that into being used by QA, and as we became more and more successful, it eventually then moved into the domestic manufacturing facilities. So we kind of felt like we had seen the full circle until we started then globally looking at a LIMS system. So we eventually put in a global system that was in our Chinese manufacturing facilities. So again, it was kind of like a great experience to go from a system that was under someone's lab desk all the way up to having a global system, and being able to be a part of that process with one organization was a great learning experience. And during those times, obviously, many implementations, upgrades, and improvements. Along that time of all those years, I picked up areas and expertise, mainly in business systems analysis. That was just mostly out of necessity. Again, going from R&D to QA to manufacturing, you can imagine all the different users and groups and ways that the LIMS was to be used. We needed to develop some in-house systems analysis skills, so I picked up those, along with SampleManager design development to a little bit lesser extent, and a lot more in regards to implementation, upgrades, and support. So that's a little bit about myself. Let's go ahead and jump into our presentation. In today's presentation, the agenda, we're going to be looking at why upgrade and types of upgrades. Some upgrades are obvious, some are not, and types of upgrades are varied in their expressions. We're going to look at some of the highlights of the out-of-the-box features for SampleManager 12.2. If you haven't had a chance to see some of those features, we'll take a short look at some of those and see what the newest and best things from Thermo SampleManager are today. We're going to look at why perform an upgrade assessment. Obviously, you want your upgrade to be successful, and an assessment is a good way to help kind of make sure that happens. And you also want to help determine what type of upgrade will work best for your organization or your situation. So we'll take a look at that. We're going to look at the approach to an upgrade assessment and the expected outcome. We'll stitch all those things together into a summary, and then we'll have a short session for questions and answers. Okay, so why upgrade? Maybe you haven't upgraded for a while, and that's understandable. Upgrades are hard. They're time consuming, they take time away from your day-to-day work, they're costly, so sometimes you might be afraid to put your neck out there and have a huge cost and not sure of the outcome, which then they can induce a sense of uncertainty or anxiety. It's not an unusual thing to experience because, well, maybe you've never done an upgrade before, okay, and you keep looking at it and go, oh, I'm just going to put that off. Don't want to do that. Or maybe your last upgrade didn't go as successfully as you had planned. All types of valid reasons that it makes it upgrade very anxious type driven process. More than likely though, and this is the case for a lot of folks, is you want to maintain support with Thermo Scientific. You have a system that maybe has gone off support. So if your LIMS system is 11.0 11.1 or older, you're off support now. If you're currently on 11.2, you can see here it goes off support in about a year from now. So you've got a year to get yourself upgraded. Some not so obvious reasons. One is maintaining IT and infrastructure supportability. And this is kind of outside of SampleManager itself. Maybe your version of SampleManager runs just fine, but now your IT says, well, okay, the server it's being supported on is upgrading to Windows 2018, and you go look and go, oh, my SampleManager can't run on 2018. Well, that forces you to an upgrade. Maybe same thing with your database. Your database is being upgraded, and again, your SampleManager version might not be supported with that database upgrade. And then you've got some other things that are a little bit less obvious. You've got maybe your company organization is upgrading Windows Office, and you're using Excel. Well, suddenly the new version of Excel won't work with your version of SampleManager. So those are some of the IT and infrastructure. But then also maybe your business rules have changed, or you need a fresh approach. In this case, in today's ever-changing environment, your lab may be asked to incorporate other lines of business that may not pair well with your current operations. Maybe, my example, with the company I was with, the R&D group was then asked to take on the QA. And if you're familiar with QA and R&D, they are very different environments. And how do you get that to work within your system? Or maybe you just need a fresh approach. In that case, you're maybe due to acquisition or a change in business priorities is forcing you to look at an upgrade. The other part is you have a system that just isn't working very well anymore. The end user experience is deteriorated. You need to address bottlenecks. Reports are taking from 30 seconds, now they're taking 2 minutes to generate. And you just want to basically improve your overall laboratory operational efficiency. This is a good reason to do an upgrade. Also, you might be looking at the fact that you've got a lot of custom functionality in your system, and you now have maybe a lack of IT support or something else that's making you look at what can we do with out-of-the-box functionality to move away from our customization. That makes future upgrades much easier to perform. It gives your SMEs the ability to configure SampleManager rather than IT. And increases your operational efficiencies again. So here you're looking at, I want to get the most out-of-the-box functionality as possible. I need to do that, I need an upgrade. Maybe you just don't know why you want to upgrade, or should I upgrade? Okay, maybe all the items that we covered so far didn't fit into your pigeonhole. So then you're like, well, maybe should I? Well, especially with events surrounding COVID now, maybe it is a good time to look into an upgrade. What we're doing here is you've got some downtime. I'm going to get past my anxiety of doing an upgrade. Maybe I should start looking into it and take advantage of this downtime